WandaVision has reintroduced us to Monica Rambeau. And in this latest episode for us, which is episode 5, we see an interesting reaction when Captain Marvel is mentioned. And seeing as the last time we saw Monica, she was like number one
fan.
Number one Carol Danvers fan. It was interesting to see kind of a negative reaction, and so it got our gears turning, and we think that it's likely that perhaps Monica has grown to resent Captain Marvel maybe more than anybody. Additionally, coming up next in this video is Monica in that same conversation sort of teases that she knows somebody. She's gonna possibly introduce us to a very important person. We think that we know who that is.
Is it Box?
It's not Box. Like I said, when they're talking about people having Infinity Stones powers.
Check that one
out. As soon as Jimmy Woo mentions Captain Marvel, as soon as he invokes her name, we see a very specific shot of Monica looking like kind of
not very excited.
Yeah,
face.
she's like kind of exhausted. She's like, ugh, not Captain Marvel. And we were like, whoa, she doesn't like her anymore.
It's a similar face that I make when people bring up Morbius.
She also then immediately wants to change the subject. As soon as people are saying, yeah, Captain Marvel was so strong, she almost beat her, she's like, we're not talking about Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to talk about Captain Marvel. She doesn't want to talk about that. And so, as soon as you start to kind of think about how her relationship with Carol has been over the past, 20, 30 years?
28. Oh, yeah, 20, 30 years.
It hasn't been great.
No.
After Carol left,
for the second time,
Maria, Monica's mom, fell ill. And,
she started SWORD, but then,
SWORD, but then fell ill. And, while Monica was excited and loved Captain Marvel when she was a little girl,
we don't really get the feeling or implication that Carol came back.
Yeah. Well, she didn't, because nobody on Earth knew her by the time she returned for Infinity War.
And Fury sending the pager to me kind of implies that she hasn't been back.
For even just Carol never coming back would have been enough to kind of crush her dreams, because this was her hero. In Captain Marvel, did she say that she was gonna come back and see them?
I don't know that she specifically said that she was gonna come back, but it was
kind of like, you're my hero, you're my auntie, you're gonna come back and visit us, and she didn't. But on top of that, Maria fell ill, and just adding that to the pile, where she has this superhero idol who is essentially a member of her family, and now her mom is dying, and this hero didn't come back. She didn't come back even to say goodbye.
To her knowledge.
To her knowledge,
because we think that it's very possible that since Maria died in the 5 years that was blipped, we know that Carol was back on Earth in that time. We think that it is probably likely that she did get to talk to Maria in that time, and that could be part of the conflict. Monica doesn't know that.
That could be part of the resolution, but regardless of that, Monica doesn't know that. She's not aware that Carol ever came back. From her perspective, her mom fell ill. Carol never came back for 20, 30 years. She fell asleep, woke up. 5 years had now passed, and from her perspective, Carol still never came back.
And her mom's dead.
And her mom is now dead, and Carol never came to save her. And to a girl who grew up thinking the world of this person, that's probably going to sour your opinion of her. Where, you think you have this person who's always going to be looking out for you, and who is your favorite person in the world, and then something bad happens, and you think, no, Aunt Carol's not going to let this happen. And she just is nowhere to be
nowhere
found.
Yeah.
And so we think that that really has manifested as, you know, a real resentment for Carol.
Not enough for her to become a villain, but just enough for
enough
there to be
for her
conflict.
to think, you know, maybe she's not as great as I thought. And like there's nothing worse than, like, you know, in movies it's like, you're my hero, and then to be so terribly let down by that hero.
Good old buddy.
The good old Incredibles.
Incrediboy.
Fly home, buddy.
With that said, we think that angle for Monica will play a very interesting role in Captain Marvel 2, because we know Feige has said that
there's
a
couple interesting characters that are going to be in that show.
One of which is Monica, as we just said, and the other is Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. And so what we know about her
is that she is the ultimate Captain Marvel fan.
She loves the Avengers, and Captain Marvel is her absolute
favorite. And so essentially she's where Monica was when Monica was like 10 years old.
Yeah.
And so that's going to play a really interesting dynamic, because Kamala is this innocent, you know, Captain Marvel could never let me down.
Yeah. She's the plucky young hero.
She's the plucky young hero who, you know, doesn't think that Captain Marvel could ever do anything wrong. And Monica is the perfect reverse to that. She's the perfect foil, where she was that and was completely let down by Captain Marvel. And so those two could have a really interesting dynamic together, seeing as they're like, you know, it's not exactly quite a foil. It's actually that Monica could be the unfortunate destiny of Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
And I think that she's going to want to warn her of that, because, you know, Miss Marvel's going to be like, I'm going to be with Captain Marvel forever. She's taking me under her wing. She's never going to let me down. And Monica's going to say, look, kid, she lets people down. From my perspective, that's all she does.
Yeah, and it'll likely be in the movie that it'll be up to Carol to either prove her wrong or prove her right. You know?
And that'll be an interesting thing for Carol to have to live up to and live with.
Especially because we do know that Monica is important to Carol.
Yeah.
You know, and so for it, I'm sure she won't be happy knowing that that's the relationship that they now have.
Exactly. One more quick thing before we move on to that very important person is that Monica Rambeau in the comics is the superhero Photon. We see in episode 4 of WandaVision that was
headquarters.
That was her mom's sort of name. Thing. I don't know exactly what to call it. Carol, the Avenger, Danvers, Maria, Photon Rambeau. And so maybe she'll sort of adopt that mantle. It's possible that she already has powers now.
Yeah.
Because after she was ejected from the Hex, her MRI is completely blank. It's all just like, it's almost as if someone shone a big old light at it or something. And I know that's not how MRIs work, but you know, there's sort of the connection to TVs that are, you know, all about emitting light, you know. And so maybe she was given some sort of light-based power. I'm not entirely sure what Photon's power set is. You could always look it up in our Marvel Encyclopedia, or outdated Marvel Encyclopedia. Photon can turn into any type of energy, including light, electricity, microwaves, radio waves, ultraviolet waves, gamma rays. Okay, so that's
TV.
That's pretty, you know, in line with the whole TV thing. And so here's Photon. She's kind of got bell bottoms there, so I wonder if they'll kind of modify the
fish pants.
The fish pants, maybe like try and paint them or something, and maybe they'll turn that into a cool looking outfit that isn't like some crazy wacky 70s.
I have a theory with the outfit that ties into our final point.
Go for it.
Which is the very important person that we've been teasing. That is not Box. In the discussion where she is not very happy about Captain Marvel, she's trying to figure out a way to get in. She wants this vehicle comprised of all these special types of materials that will allow her to penetrate the Hex.
Unaltered.
And so at the end of that conversation, she says that I know an aerospace engineer that is very good and will help us. And so immediately there is someone that came to our minds who we've been theorizing is coming very soon. We know they're coming. Feige announced their movie. And so that is Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. And the more we've thought about it, the more we've looked into it, the more we think that this is a very, very real and likely possibility. We looked into his profile just to confirm. We knew he's a smart guy who makes spaceships, but confirming that he is, among other specific engineering, he is an aerospace engineer. And so that's a direct tie. We know the Fantastic Four are coming. Mm-hmm. This would be a great place to introduce him.
Yeah.
Pre-powers, and just, here's this guy, John Krasinski, and he's just here now, and I think it could happen as soon as next episode.
Yeah.
WandaVision doesn't tend to waste time and hold off on big reveals. Mm-hmm. Every episode is delivering and one-upping the last one every week. I think that it's likely that in the next 2 episodes we even see it, Yeah. If not, definitely before the end of it. Yeah. And so just tying back to what I said before is I think that instead of her getting this big vehicle that she's going to go into the hex with, I think that it will be a modified suit, mm-hmm. and that will be her way in. Yeah. Just because you got to think of a way to give a hero their suit, mm-hmm. but it'll kind of be the thing. She's thinking of, I got to get this big vehicle, but if he's this smart aerospace engineer,
maybe he'll be able to condense
simplify it, condense it, and make it sleek and cool.
Yeah, they made a very specific point to be like, I know an aerospace engineer,
this is somebody that we're going to meet.
It wasn't that dramatic, but whoever the aerospace engineer is
going to come into the show.
Is going to be in the show, and who is, the Reed Richards is none other than an aerospace engineer.
He's the smart guy now in the MCU.
Yeah.
We lost Tony. Hank's not doing anything. Bruce is the Hulk, so I guess he could do some stuff, but mm-hmm. he's not an aerospace engineer.
Time travel. we see what Bruce does when he tries to tackle things outside of
his element. Yeah. And we know that Bruce is going to be with his hands full with She-Hulk and mm-hmm. stuff.
Yeah.
And so that leaves us with one big smart guy other than, I guess, Professor X, but he's not here yet.
And yeah, just one last thing, if the Hex was able to give Monica some sort of abilities, like we touched on, she's altered in some way, maybe the same thing will happen with Reed Richards. I don't know if that'll happen until he's with the rest of the Fantastic Four.
I think it'll be
I think that's going to be its own
event.
thing.
But something to note with that is that in the comics and in the other things is he works with the negative zone, and that's just another tie to dimensional meddling, which could
just kind of
tie into the Hex.
Yeah, something kind of like they're trying to make something that will penetrate the Hex kind of unaltered. Mm-hmm. I don't fully know how the negative zone works, but I know that they keep supervillains there, and mm-hmm. so somehow it contains their abilities and it contains them. So maybe it's a bit of a reach, bit of a loose thread to tug on, that this is maybe something worth mentioning. Yeah.
But and so we're extremely excited about that. We would love to see if in the next episode she says, this is my friend Reed Richards, love to see ya, John Krasinski, back in the MCU, and it's not Jimmy Woo.
Yeah. So yeah, do you think we're right about the Reed Richards thing? Mm-hmm. Do you think that we're right about
that's
Monica?
One we haven't seen people really say.
Yeah. Do you think we're right about Monica resenting Carol now? I think that these are some pretty solid predictions here. Mm-hmm. So
if you want to see more theories that may be a bit more direct, the Reed Richards one's pretty direct, but if you want to see a bit more cosmic and direct to WandaVision theories, you can check out our other videos that we've done. We've done a couple just based off this last episode alone. It's kind of our mid-season purge. Mm-hmm. We'll probably do another couple theories at the end of WandaVision.
Yeah.
Kind of wrapping up with what happened and going forward with the events, because I can imagine that there will be some pretty significant stuff happening at the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so let us know what you think. If you think we're totally wrong, tell us, man. I want to know. I want to know.
And let us know what you think it is instead. Don't just tell us you're wrong. Tell us you're wrong. This is what I think instead.
But yeah, let us know what you think. Give us a like if you think we were right. We want if we're the first to predict this, we want people to see it. So
Spread it around. If you like any of the theories that we've said, share them around. Show people and try and get people on the train before it comes out.
Yeah, and you can even reserve your like or your share until after the episode comes out. Just make sure you watch it beforehand. But then if you can say, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to like it until I see if you were right or not. And then when we're right, come back and
if we're wrong, come back and tell us, hey, I watched it from the future. You guys were wrong.
Yeah, tell us.
And we'll like that comment.
Yeah, but if we're right, subscribe. That's a deal.
Yeah, we're trying to get to the 100 subscriber special.
Yeah,
YouTube's gonna send us that special plaque.
Yeah. So catch you later.
Boom, we did it.